Starting the video now. And it just started.
Oh no, that's very best thermostat. Is it just
Okay.
No, Mary Beth does hers in that one. Okay. But it's not like yours and Jennifer. This one's fine, this one's too hard. Okay.
Okay, are we ready to go?
Ready.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attendance. As I mentioned in the email earlier, what we propose to do today is to start at the very top, create an auction, and go through some bids on that auction, go through some maintenance to the auction while it's in progress, and then switch over to another recently closed auction and go through the closing functions. Now, this is a rather detailed process, and what I would like to ask is that rather than the back and forth that we usually do to let's proceed through the presentation uninterrupted. And as you come, if I say something, if I leave something out or something that interests you where you want to ask a question, find the chat button on your Zoom. Everybody locate the chat button on your Zoom screen right now and confirm with me that you can see it.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. What I would ask that you do, rather than verbally asking questions during the process or commenting during the process, use the chat function, and I'll see it. I'll see it on my screen, and I may not see it immediately because I'm going to be focusing on what I'm showing you. Then at the end, then we'll open it up and you can ask questions, and but first I will go through the chat boxes and see what's in there and clear it up first. So, with that said, let's dive in. All right. First of all, let me do a presentation. Now, just verbally, confirm with me that you can see the content of the screen.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So I have, let's see. I have two users. I have two independent screens logged in here, which in the importance of that will come up shortly. All right. The first thing I want to do is go to our admin function and using our demo client, which is number 2000. Actually, let me step back. Before I go there, I'm going to show you something that you have not seen, and that is we're going to upload a global PDF. It can be used anywhere, anytime, at any of the auctions. So if I click here, I've prepared for this. I've got a list of global. Now, just a matter of reference, these are the PDFs that are on your current website. and in the download function on your website. So I'm going to grab this one right here, authorization of release. And I just uploaded that into an area on the system where we can reference it as a PDF that the customer can link to. All right, so heading back over here to our clients. I'm opening. I've opened client number 2000. I'm gonna add an auction using 2000 and title that auction. So grab that title and copy it into the highlights since we have to need to have something there. All right, set the ending date. We'll set the ending date for next week at 11 a.m. And we're going to do some cars. So we'll say we have the title section that we're going to put in the description. And let's apply that. Now, I have got, of course, you can do any size that you want here, but I have got just so we can kind of see the full context of everything that's happening. I've got a small selection of items from a previous test that we did. My test files, 5 images. I uploaded 5 images from a zip file. I have a inventory that has 4 lots, like so. And I'm going to now just to in order to something else I want to show you here is once we have saved that auction or applied that auction, we can come back and see whatever files that we have that are available. There's our authorization release form that I just set up and so forth. And we can plug those into anywhere you see the edit screen like this, that there's a new button or a new drop down been added called insert file. So I can do something like say this is the release. And then I can click here, and it has now put a link into that box that will allow the customer to download that file. Okay, with all that set, we have our inventory uploaded. You can also let's see if we have any in here. Let's say I want on my inventory, I need to my inventory description. I also want to insert a file. Okay, so is that done? Let's go and set our auction to open and submit it. And now let's head over and see if, I think we did that for 1 week from today. Right here. And there's our inventory that we've downloaded or uploaded, excuse me. And as you recall, we added a form on the second item here. Click on that, and that downloads the file to the customer's computer. Okay. All right, so let's close that off. Now I am going to, again, I have got this window here is set up as my user, and then I've got another user logged into this window called Test Admin 1. And now they're both open to bidding screens. So let's head over here and start bidding on this one using my user. First bid attempt gets a accept terms. Then I'm going to bid opening at 200. Let's put a max on it of 250. And let's head over and bid on another item. And another. And another. Okay, so here's confirmation for our 4 bids. Let's see. I need to refresh this. All right, so I was on the wrong option before. Okay, so we see on this one, this is my bidder number 32397. And so see, I'm the high bidder on all of those items. So as the other bidder, Test Admin 1, I'm going to bid on a couple items here. My first bid is that bidder ID. So I agree to terms. Next bid is 210. And let's go ahead and bid on this one and this one. Okay, so again, on the left-hand side, I'm sitting there with my bidder number. I'm high bid on all 4 items. Over here, the other guy is going to bid against me on 3 items. So when I submit those bids, I'll get a notice on my screen that somebody has outbid me on items on lot 20 and 21. And somebody has placed a bid, but since I had a max on lot 1, I'm still the high bidder. The bidder was informed that even though he placed a bid on lot one, somebody else has placed a higher bid. We're not telling him that it's a max bid. We're just telling him that he's not the high bidder. And you'll notice the messages are in red. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of other functions here. All right. I'm going to close this. Now, as you recall, my Mac has a problem. Sometimes it gets confused about what special characters are, and this first lot has an error on it. So what I want to do is, I'm going to head over to my admin function, and I'm going to open this auction in admin right here. Okay. And I'm going to go to inventory. Now, it's been a while since we talked about this, so I'm just really reviewing it. You probably wouldn't go about it this way, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new spreadsheet for this auction, and I'm going to correct this problem here in the description. So to do that, first thing you want to do is to download a CSV file of the current inventory. And then if you go to your download folders, you see it there. I'm going to open it in Excel. And okay, so here's the problem. So that's supposed to say 21 inch lawnmower, but I'm going to correct it this way. Let's just put 21 IN. Okay, so I'm going to save the spreadsheet. And go back over to my auction. And I'm going to go back into my download folder and upload that spreadsheet. Now, this time when I upload since the auction is open, when I upload a spreadsheet, it gives me a different presentation. And we've been here before, but I just wanted to review this. Now, it's showing us that there are 4 lots that have been uploaded. And we have the opportunity to click modified and or delete bids. I'm going to delete bids, and I'm going to say description. So, all right, I'm going to, then once I've done that, again, we're going to delete bids on lot 1. When I click replace, you'll notice over here that lot 1 went back to 0 for the current bid, and the starting bid is the next bid. Now it popped us into our bulk mailer, and it has created 2 emails, one for my address and one for the test bidder. And it shows that if there were more than one lot change that they were bidding in, it would list those serially on in the email. But it's showing them that lot one, and it shows the title, and then it shows the reason that we are deleting the bids. Now, I'm going to skip over sending. I'm not going to send those out. I can cancel this, and those emails will not be sent. Okay, so again, we have reset. We have reset the bidding for lot one, and we can start all over again. Okay. All right, now I'm going to switch horses here and go to an auction that closed just this morning. And again, this is a demo auction, but it was one that I set up for the demonstration, and it closed it an hour or so ago. So we'll go into admin and list our auctions and browse down through here, looking for today's date. There we go. Okay, so once an auction has closed and you open the auction from admin, this is what's presented to you. You see a display that shows just the top part of the auction setup screen, shows you the current status. In fact, is ended. It gives you a list of all the invoices that are available on that auction, and it also gives you a manage results screen. I want to go through both of these and let's take a look. All right, let's suppose that bidder number 32397 is, we have a tax certificate for this guy. So instead of plain old taxes, he's non-taxable. You can do this here, or you can do it on each individual item. In this case, I'm going to make everything non-taxable and apply it to all rows. You see the results immediately. And if you like what you see, click here. And it says send, but it actually just creates a new invoice. So I'm going to close that. And we can go to any invoice in that auction from this drop down. That may be one, or that may be 100 items there. Okay, now on manage results, you can do things like, for example, you can no sale a bid. So if I click here, it's going to zero out that bid for this lot and take it off the invoice. Or you can do something like, for example, I want to make Schultz the winner on this. And since it's Schultz, I'm going to charge him $10 instead of $5.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Dave. You deserve it, man. All right, and put the reason in here. And update. Okay, so now when we look at managed results, we see on the last item, we see a note. Okay, sorry. Oops. All right. We also have I need to refresh here. Okay. Let me go back here. Okay. Now, instead of 2 invoices, we have 3. We have my bidder number, the other guy, and Schultz. So he now has this item at $10 with a $1 premium. So now the rest of the action will take place once we have any modifications for our invoices done. Then we flip over to the next button that's labeled Pay Sheet, and there's a button up at the top left corner that says Send Invoices. So let's give that a shot. Okay. Zoom keeps messing with me here because it's covering up my tabs here. All right, I'm going to go over here to the other side and open the mail trap. Okay. Notice there are 3 emails now in mail trap that were sent a minute ago. And here's one. Dear David Schultz, thank you for winning bid on yada yada. Your invoice is attached. Please note payment must be completed before the close of business on Thursday, May 30th. That can say whatever you want it to say. All right, so let's open that invoice, and you'll notice, and here's what that invoice looks like. It's got the bidder's name up the upper left-hand corner. It's got the lot where it is. There are 3 pages of that invoice, and it is clearly marked unpaid so that it could not be used as a paid invoice to pick up an item. So now that we have that, I'm getting annoyed soon because it's covering up all my stuff. Okay. All right. So now we've sent an invoice to Schultz, and he's walked in the front door, pulled out his wallet, and said, "Hey, I want to pay cash for this." So we click register payment, shows the amount due up here. If I happen to put in, for example, I forget to put my decimal point, boom. Once this amount here gets greater than this amount here, you get a warning here. So let's do it right. 0.91. And let's do a check. And let's save that. Now you'll notice on Mail Trap over here, we got a paid receipt sent to David Schultz. And in here, it has the pickup, should have the pickup time. Important, your lot must be removed before the close of business on Friday, May 31, 2024. Let's take a look at that attachment. And there is what a fully paid receipt looks like. It's clearly marked that it is paid. There's removal instructions and the lot location or locations at the bottom. Okay, now let's go back to cancel that off. Now, on the pay sheet, you'll notice I paid off Schultz's invoice, so the register payment button turned from blue to gray. So that's a signal to you that this invoice has no balance on it. If the button is blue, that means it hasn't been paid yet. So they allows you to quickly pick out the ones that are not paid at this point. All right. If I need to resend that receipt, I have a button here. And there it pops into Mail Trap. On this one, if I need to resend this invoice, pops into Mail Trap. All right. And the only thing left now, I won't go into all the details of this, but because we're not completed with the auction, and I don't want to bore you with repetitively going over making payments and that sort of thing. But the next step would be send reports. And from here, you have your report listing and the defaults with blue check marks of what will be sent back to you under admin and back and to the client. Now, admin distribution is set up in the configuration table, so you don't have to worry about tinkering with this unless you want to temporarily add someone to it. The from address is set in the configuration table, and again, you don't have to change that. The client distribution comes from a new spot that we set up in the client table where you can put a list of email addresses for report distribution. we can also, if you choose, you can select, instead of the report distribution, you can select the client distribution. Okay. So once you get all that set the way you want it, then click send. And you get 2 emails sent. Well, actually, you would get potentially more emails, but Mail Trap only puts the top one. You get one for client. I'm sorry, one for admin. And then all the reports is on the legacy system, it sends out an email for each report, which is pretty tedious. This puts all reports on one email. So if you click the attachments link here, you'll see that there are that many files attached to this email, which are the admin reports for that auction. And then this is the client side of what they got. Okay. All right. I'm in the chat box now. I have that is the end of my presentation. And I'm looking in the chat box and let's see what happens here. Jennifer says, when adding a file, is it necessary to add text as well? Are you still here, Jennifer?
Yes, when you added the authorization of removal, you put a sentence that this is the removal authorization, and then you added. Is that necessary to add a text before or when you add the?
No, that was just an illustration. That's giving additional context to the download links. If it, if the download link, it's pretty obvious to anybody that's ever been on the internet before. If you see something and it's blue and it has an underline under it, something's going to happen when you click on it. So, but no, I did that just to demonstrate.
Okay, thank you.
On managed results, the bid amount space has 00 twice, which could be confusing. Yes, and that will, we're doing some testing with the legacy system, and bids from the legacy system can have decimal points or can have cents. When we move to when we go live with this, that will go away because we will not have any results that have anything less than $1. Does that answer your question, Cheryl?
Yeah, if it's going to go away, yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Why is there a large gap after payment instructions and removal instructions on paid receipt, causing the information to go on page two? That is a spacing parameter in the report generator. And I know that sounds like gobbledygook, but I will look into that. On the pay sheet, will the date time populate for receipt sent as the invoice info did? Yes, it will. And I'll go back and look at that. It's a step behind right now. It requires a refresh, but I'll go back and you'll see that it is there. Where do you find the different DLs for reports for a client? It was confusing. Okay, let's address both of those. Let me park this off over here. All right, first of all, let's go to client number. Let's go to the client that I used for this auction, client 2000. All right, edit. And you will see right down here, report email list.
Okay.
Does that answer your question about
Well,
that?
you toggled between two different things. So was one of them the BCC for the invoices and the other the report list?
Yes.
Okay.
We're probably gonna
It-
most the report list, I would assume.
Do you want that option, or do you want that option to go away and just grab whatever's in here? We did this in case you haven't gotten around to filling this in yet. When we get on to Gen2, because there's nothing for us to bring forward. This will not. There's nothing here on clients that are brought forward from the legacy system. This client 2000 is one that I created from scratch. So
But when you bring the legacy system over, that will fill in based on what's currently in the client file?
we don't have that. We don't have that in the client file.
Basically, Jennifer
That's
and I
what I'm trying to say.
we will be filling this report email list in on each client as we go, and then
Okay.
it'll be there. But
Well, okay, so as a transitional step, what you'll be doing is before you do reports, you'll come here. You'll put those email addresses here and apply it, and then it'll do what you want it to do.
Can we see where they'll go in the client file eventually? Like, can we see that?
That's where I was.
Sorry.
well, it'll be in there once we put it in there. It's in there if we've
yes.
saved it.
Okay.
We're just gonna have to
Sorry.
build it from scratch, looking at the legacy system to
And
fill it
going
in.
back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and
You
as
had
we work
also,
with clients, we ask them who gets your reports.
Yeah.
So would that be something, I guess internally we can decide, is that something that we who put up an auction put in there, or we send an email to you and Jennifer and you guys put it in there, but we can
Yeah,
decide
we'll talk
that.
about it, but I mean, if you're getting it.
well, I mean, we actually we created this new spot, if you will, in the client file for report email list because you guys had to do such improvisation. You had sellers and all sorts of things that you did as places to record these.
Right.
And because there wasn't a place just for who gets reports in my client.
Can
Yeah,
you
that's
go up a
great.
little bit on that again, that page? Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you mentioned sellers. So in other words, if we have a client that has different sellers who get different reports, each time we're sending reports for an auction, that would be changed. This is not going to be a pretty much static list that once we put it in, it's there. If we have 5 sellers for a client and each seller has different names in it, they'll have to be changing that each time they send reports.
No, sellers have their own list as well.
Okay.
Sellers have it. Sellers have it. This is what I'm showing you on the screen now.
Yes, I see that.
This is
Okay.
okay. From my client, I go to a seller record, and the seller record has an invoice distribution and a report distribution list.
Okay, good.
And you can choose between the seller list, report list, and the client report list. So if for some reason it's on a seller, but you still want to send it to the client list, you can do that.
What he's saying is I don't have a case set up to show you, but let's see back here and search for if there were a seller for this auction, then this drop down here would have more than 2 entries in it. It'd have client distribution list and seller distribution list, for example. I'm not
And,
getting any
and
response.
seller report list and as well.
When we
Are
were
you,
on
are you with?
that showed the, you were showing us those different lists and everything, and it was a seller list, and BCC was automatically checked. Now, we don't BCC invoices very often. So is that
Okay.
gonna always be checked, that we have to uncheck it before sending invoices?
Yeah, maybe the default should be unchecked.
But I thought we had
Okay.
talked a while back that if that client always gets invoices, for example, any of ours that collect their own, or Euless B&B who still wants to receive invoices even though they don't collect, I thought it was going to automatically do it for those that need it, so that if I'm not the one closing, somebody else is closing, they don't have to know, do they get BCC or not? Am I expressing myself correctly?
Yeah, well, we have that in the client file. Let's see.
Okay, so it will automatically check it if it's already been uploaded in the client file. It's not a choice per auction.
Been a while since we talked about that. I wanted to look at it.
So it's been set up in the client file there. And if that's unchecked in the client file, then they won't get it, right?
Right.
The BCC?
Yeah, oh, yeah, here.
Oh,
Here you
right.
go.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
and that's a one-time check. We don't have to do that per auction for that client.
Correct.
Okay.
So if I go back and look at that client now, 2000.
Okay,
It's unchecked.
Oh,
all right.
Okay, other question was, or regarding, let's go to auction 308. The auction that we just closed, on the pay sheet. The question was, would the,
Oh, okay.
now there
Cool.
is one, I will point out also, we just actually noticed this late and didn't take, this is showing in it says EDT, but it's actually showing in Greenwich time. So that will be fixed.
Jennifer had asked me a question the other day, and I said I didn't think this had been addressed yet. If there is a customer, a bidder, who requires multiple invoices to be resent to them because they can't find them anywhere, or maybe they changed emails, is that a simple task from the bidder profile so that we don't have to go into each individual auction and resend an invoice?
That is not the case now, no. But we can certainly look at that. So be able to resend, are you saying to be able to
Either resend
resend?
invoices or paid receipts, but do it at the bidder level because they have multiple ones, and that saves us going in and out and in and out to each individual auction to resend it.
So
Any
there
comment
will
on that,
be
Jeff?
there will be email list or email communication on the bidder screen, which shows all these items, and yeah, we can add resend. Either have an individual button per interaction that will say, okay, resend this, or have a checkbox multi-select, or multi-check. They can check multiple
Right.
ones that resend.
Okay.
Okay, I want to resend these three communications.
Okay. Can you show us a bidder file of one of these three bidders here who have an invoice or a paid receipt in their profile?
And I also want to make sure while we're talking about paid receipts, I think, and it may be in there and I just don't know where it is. We were going to have the option when we were resending a paid receipt to resend it to just ourselves, just the bidder, or just the clients.
Oh, yes.
You know, because right now when we resend them, everybody gets them again. And we wanted to, we didn't want that to happen because sometimes only the bidder needs it and sometimes only the client needs it and sometimes only we need it. And then everybody gets it and then it confuses the other two in that group that didn't need it. And we had talked about it. And I think y'all said that was going to be possible. So I don't know if that's in there yet.
That's possible, but I don't think we've addressed it yet. Let's go back and get to the area where we were. Okay, so here's the pay sheet.
Right.
It shows when the invoice was sent the last time. You know, this update, if you resend, this will update. And here's where since this one, this is the only one paid. That's the only one that's showing a receipt at this point.
Click on Dave Schultz.
On his name?
Yeah, click on the name Dave M. Schultz. So that'll bring you directly to the bidder record. We don't have the reverse set up yet, but up on top there will be a list of communications or a button for communications that will list everything.
Okay. Because that doesn't have. It doesn't really have.
We don't have it yet.
Anything. Okay. All right. Okay.
Is there a way, I mean, I know from the get-go, if we're setting up an auction and, for example, you know, we know that standard is 4 business days for payment. Well, Graham's record service is 2 business days. So I know for an entire auction, we just set it up differently for payment due date. But what if we go to a backup bidder for any auction and we're going to give that backup bidder their standard 4 days to pay? And so we want to send a new invoice to a new bidder. How do we change that due date for that bidder because they just got their invoice today instead of 3 days ago?
There was a place on the pay sheet to do that at one time.
Right. We could change
so I don't know.
Particular bidder.
Okay. That would be something we would add to customize the invoice.
Okay.
And
yeah, we don't have a provision for that now, so let's decide how we want to do it.
Yeah, I think that would be best on customizing the invoice, where you can go in and change the specific invoice.
Well, if you're going to be going to a backup bidder, then you're going to be going to here.
Correct.
So,
but like these invoices just went out today, so it would still be today's all the normal standard dates. But if it was Monday that we had to go to a backup bidder, then that new bidder should be allowed the 4 business days like everybody else. And so we want to make sure that the invoice shows them that.
okay.
Okay. So
go ahead.
So that's one when a new bidder gets put in place, we automatically, instead of going from the set day, we go the day. That's something that be done behind the scenes. But you also want an option to override it as well.
Well,
You're breaking up a bit.
We have to go in and manage the results. Then we have to go over to the invoice and manage the invoices again anyway. So I'm assuming it would be in the manage the invoice.
Okay, let me Jeff was breaking up there, and I know where he was headed, and I'm not sure that you do. If I am creating an invoice for a backup bidder 2 days after the auction ended instead of the day the auction ended, I know from the auction table what the disabled or how many days to go out for a disabled date. I mean, can we just set it automatically? If you create a, in other words, if you change the winning bidder 2 days after the auction closes, then we can go and look at the auction table and say, oh, they've got 4 days to make this payment. Then just add those days on to whatever the current disabled date is and do that automatically rather than asking you to put it in. Or does that?
I think so. I mean, I'm only the only one saying this, but if we all are in agreement that a backup bidder gets their same 4 days, then I would think, making it automatic would make everybody's life easier.
I don't know if
Anybody
we need
else?
to talk about, we don't always give them a whole 4 days, though. I think when we
I
get a
know.
backup bidder, it's usually like after we've banned somebody, so we're already several days past the due date, typically. So I don't know, maybe we need to talk about that. Cheryl?
Well, I mean, what we could do, well, here, another option there would be for let us calculate, we can calculate it, pop it in there, and if you want, then show it. And if you want to override it, type it in.
I think that's, yeah. I think you should do that. I think you should calculate it in there.
Where do you,
And then we can override it anyway. I mean, we can override it now when we are, if we go to a backup bidder, we're managing that invoice anyway, because so we have to go in and do some things. We should be able to manage that date if we want to. That sounds
Okay.
fine.
so you will be going, you pretty much always go into the customized invoice as well, or should we have the logic on this screen that if it's a different bit, if the bidder changes, to put a different, to add the date here as well?
Well, we have to now, because if they're a brand new bidder, we have to go in there to customize, to add the templates to that invoice, because it doesn't automatically do it. So that's out of necessity right now that we do it. If the invoice is going to look like it's supposed to look without us doing anything different, then that would be great.
Okay.
That's not how it works right now.
Okay. So my thought is we're going to add the date in both places so that you have the flexibility. So that's my thought. I'll talk it over with Dave
Okay.
when we go to implementing it, just to make sure that there isn't something behind the scenes that creates too much difficulty for one or the other.
Okay.
Okay.
And I saw our fax number there on a template. You're taking that out completely, right? I got a fax number blank.
That was
You're
an
just,
invoice.
that's not going to show up anywhere, is it?
Emailing of invoice.
You mean on the email? Is that where you're talking about?
Yeah, that's going to be out completely,
Here?
right?
Yeah, this says whatever you want it to say.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
So
you mentioned that
you don't
change
you don't
the
show
text.
you don't show your fax number.
We don't have a fax anymore, which I got to talk to you
Oh.
about anyway, because we don't have one at all. We still have it listed all over our templates, and so
Okay.
we don't have one.
Okay.
And you said that the invoice and the paid receipt, the body of that email, the verbiage can be changed to say whatever we want. Where do we change? Is that part of templates back behind the scenes somewhere? I mean, not
Yes.
that we would, I mean, it's gonna say what it's gonna say, but
That's not exposed right now, but yes.
okay.
I mean, certain things like like reports, I'm not sure that we would have that necessarily, because some of this is coming from the database.
Right.
Or the auction date and time and some of that.
Yeah.
But like on an invoice, sure. The
It'll be in site configuration versus in templates.
Okay. Good.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. This site configuration is something that you'd not seen before today, which
Okay.
and we began. We put it here. We went ahead and added it because this is where, like for example, the global PDFs upload. Since it doesn't apply to a client or it doesn't apply to an auction, then we have a place where it applies to everything. So that's in our site configuration. And there'll be lots of more stuff popping in here now that we're getting close to the end.
Okay.
And some of it will be some of the site configuration stuff will be how much do you need done for launch and how much can we do after launch.
Yeah, and of course, like I said, once we decide on how we want it to say, it's pretty much just like site configuration in the legacy system. We don't change it very much.
Yeah, and that's why it's some of that stuff we don't need it for launch. We can just program it and then we can work on building it, doing some of that functionality to change so that you can change it over time after launch.
Okay. Any more questions? Oh, looks like one. Jennifer asked, "Is a distribution list and invoices the same on receipts?"
And then maybe it's because I don't load them but I kept seeing where it says BCC invoices, but I didn't see anywhere where the receipts were going. Like our normal DL is for receipts typically. Is that one and the same?
Yeah, we didn't really begin at the client, like where we set up everything in the client file, which might have been helpful, or we could do that another time with Jennifer and everybody else to where they see how the client files are populated, and then if that makes sense.
So distribution
Yes.
list. See, it says invoice 1 client, invoice 2 client, but where do receipts go? Is that the same?
Yeah, I guess that, yeah.
At the moment, it's the same.
Same.
Okay.
Is that a problem or? Yeah, I mean, what you're
No, I
saying,
No, I think it's
Oh,
just
yeah,
the wording
uh,
that confused me because as Maribeth said earlier, most of our clients don't get the invoice. They're getting receipts after the fact. So I didn't know if that was the same and I'm just reading it literally or.
well, the word invoice here is actually in an email address. It's just distribution.
Right. Yeah, I
But
get
that's
that.
the distribution list for invoices, or that's that distribution list you're looking at right now that you highlighted, is that for invoices or paid receipts?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
so down below with seller 1055, you've got two different emails. You have an email and then you have a distribution list. Obviously those aren't one and the same.
So if you chose seller 1055, your distribution list would be the distribution list there. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Okay.
They get invoices if we choose to, but they get paid receipts. Okay.
Can we get back on a schedule to where, I mean, I know that y'all are doing lots and lots of updates. But is there a way that we can get back on a weekly schedule as far as testing on our end. And like,
Okay,
is there a day that y'all do any downtime that would be that we could work on more consistently, or?
well, yes, I want to start that today. The reason I wanted to go through this entire presentation is that we've always focused on just one little thing at a time.
Yeah,
And I want to get us to the point where you guys can take an auction, create it, open it, bid on it from multiple locations, let it close, and then do the closing functions that we talked about.
I will go back one step further, and I would suggest you back up and create a client, and then create an auction. That way, you can
that's
feel
what I
the
mean. Yeah, that's how
Yeah.
we have, I mean, that's how we're creating them right now. And I mean, they get wiped out all the time. Whenever y'all do an update, they get wiped
Right,
out. That's
that's
no
what I was gonna
problem.
say.
I mean, that's fine.
So-
That just gives us more experience filling in client information.
At-
But there will be some point where there has to be a pin in it, and then we can actually start populating actual clients. I'm assuming as we're still testing, and then we're gonna have the big switcheroo.
yeah, we're gonna get to a point, and it's actually relatively soon, that when we do refreshes, the refreshes will only be auction refreshes. So that way, if you can start populating the clients and you can start populating other things, but the auctions you can still get some data from the auctions, and that it may be a point, and we'll talk about it more when we actually set a date for this. Maybe you say, oh, we don't want any refreshes, and we're just gonna do what we do on the live system or in the current system on the test system, and that way we can compare how things work in both play on the new system compared to the old system. But
Can we
yes,
make
we
that
are
call?
getting very close to that point.
Okay, great. And then one just real quick note. I noticed that on the paid receipt, it had information, the paid receipt email. Could you pull one of those up, David? I just want to make sure the important, your lot must be removed before the close of business day on whatever. Certain auctions, like 9 times out of 10 or ish, that's all standard. It's 4 business days to pay, 5 to remove, but sometimes they get super specific about removal. I think we're gonna maybe just need a really, really super vague, like important,
Okay.
like verify the removal dates and times for this auction kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. You're
Because
right.
that can get us in a world of hurt without even thinking about it. And so if we could just change that important, basically just putting it back on them, like important,
Check your receipt.
Please schedule your removal appointment and refer to removal terms or something
Right,
like
yeah,
that.
just like this, important, don't, make sure you look at it, but yeah, you're right, because like, you put up an auction and they don't want removals, like Lockheed, they don't even want removals until after all the auction lots been paid for. So, yeah, it can't be date specific on there, but that's something we can do in site configuration too.
Okay.
Yeah, we just need to come up with a general. I just
Right.
Okay. All right, cool. I just want to throw that out there so it's in our heads. Okay, is there a day that is better for y'all that we can work around?
Are
Or do
you
we
talking
just
about
need to-
us meeting, are you talking about us meeting once a week? Is that what you're
No,
saying?
I'm talking about Gen 2, like RBAI Gen 2 meeting once a week. Like, or do we just need to, like, every Monday say, hey, we're planning testing on X day this week, like every Monday checking in with y'all for a good, because I know I've popped in there and I've been like, I should not be in here right now. So I'm just asking,
It-
like, to just like what y'all's rhythm or schedule is to where we can work around what
In
y'all
in
are saying.
general, we leave Cheryl Bates alone until about the day before we have a scheduled conference call like this. So other than that, we work on our own systems.
Oh,
We
okay.
have our own dev environments that we work on and test on, and we only upload to Cheryl Bates when unless there's a specific, oh, this you tell us, oh, this is broken right now, can you fix it?
Yeah. Okay.
We try to save our updates to like the day before, maybe 2 days before, depending on how big of a change we're going to be uploading. But yeah,
Okay.
so you're pretty much free, um, unless, as you said, there's a, oh, you send us an email saying, oh, there's a bunch of problems, and then you sort of hold off testing until we fix the problems, and because it's sort of blocking your testing, then that changes things. But
Yeah. Okay. And I think we've run
Okay.
into hopefully the majority of that we're going to run into.
I agree.
We hope so.
Hopefully that's that's in the past.
Okay,
Okay,
but
great.
it will, I'm sure it will happen eventually, but let me also mention one other thing before we close. We discovered actually this morning that there's an update, not a Gen 2 update, but a system update that is going to be necessary before you can use Cheryl Bates, which we'll be working on after the meeting today. So just hold off on going back to Cheryl Bates because I've actually been running off of our demo site this
I
morning.
see that.
So
Yeah, if you could just let us know when you're done, then we'll.
Okay, I will do that. Just hold off of CherylBates.com. I'll give you a heads up email either today or as soon as the problem has been resolved, and then you can have at it.
Oh,
As
awesome.
far as scheduling a Gen 2 meeting every week,
No, that was for internal, like for testing. Because we
okay.
had been doing that, and then that's when we were coming back with all the back and forths with tweaks and all that fun stuff. And
Yeah, and that's one of the
but
reasons that
I
there's
didn't
been
know that y'all were doing so much of this work off. I mean, it makes sense, but I just don't, I'm not a programmer. But now that you say it out loud, that makes sense. So, and I've been kind of, again, I've gotten in there when it was pretty obvious I shouldn't have been in there because it was just a big error screen. So, because we all have different, like we're going to have a scheduled date and time every week, but then we also all have individual kind of rhythms as to how our auctions are going. And if I've got 30 minutes here that I didn't know I was going to have in a day, or, just feeling comfortable
Yep.
knowing that I can pop in there, or Mary Beth or Brittany, whenever, whatever.
Okay,
Yeah, and we
going
want you
forward,
in there
Cheryl
more the
Bates,
better.
Yeah, so do we.
and going forward, unless I tell you it's not available, it is.
Okay.
And if you go in there and haven't and see an error and we haven't told you that it's not available, please let us know.
Oh, okay. Well, that's happened. And I just assumed y'all were doing an update and that but it was like an obvious, like it was like I don't know what it was, but the whole screen was just like not there. But that's fine. All right, now that I know that kind of the behind, it makes more sense. Okay, cool.
Okay, anything else?
Thanks for the update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, well, I'm going to close down the video and I'll email you that this afternoon. And thank everybody for your participation. Good meeting.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
It was a great demo.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.